Well, the dog either perceives you as an object to guard because you are their source of love and food and all that kind of stuff, or they perceive you as the person in charge because of the way you handle the dog. So it's all about how you handle the dog. That's why somebody that knows how to do this and is experienced can come around, start handling the dog, and the dog's completely different because it's a simple language. It's how you do it that matters. And this is a people business. This is about teaching people how to do it the way I do it, because it's not like I have special powers or something. It's because I handle the dog differently from day one. Also, it can go really well with me just showing up because the dog doesn't have a pre-existing relationship with me. And what happens with people, and this is the toughest thing, is that you take hold of that leash and it immediately triggers the dog to do what they've done with you 1,000 times. Pull on the leash, pull you down these stairs, bark at another dog. It's just automatic. It triggers automatic behaviors. Your presence triggers behaviors. So the goal of this is to show you the moves that slowly but surely undo those already pre-existing behavior patterns that are connected to you. Because if you handle him differently, he's going to be like, whoa, okay, this triggers me to do something different. So why don't you tell me your biggest problem? What's number one on the list?
Number one, I want to say he's very reactive when he gets attacked by other dogs. It doesn't matter the size.
Active in what way?
Attacks back.
Well, think about this. When you take him out, take him to a dog park, you increase the chances of something going wrong by 1,000. So the only thing you have control over is the dog, and you have a system of behaviors that you control through commands. And I always tell everybody, your go-to command is come.
I've been using a shock collar at the moment, we don't really shock him, it's more vibrate.
Come has nothing to do with an electronic device. So a professional dog trainer would never tell you to do that. I don't know who this person is, obviously. I'm just saying professionals do the training because they know how to do it, and what you need is a secure collar that won't come off and a 6-foot leash, and you can have a rock solid, amazing recall in most cases. Like I said, we only use shock collars, electronic collars, when there's still residual aggression or something like that. It's not quite working well. Because we've trained them so well, it's like the cherry on top. You use that, and maybe it's a day or two of just that electronic tickle, which is so different than they're used to feeling. That puts them over the top, and now you're better with that one thing that's left over. So we teach dog training with a 6-foot leash and a secure collar because it's about what you do. If it was so easy to use some sort of device or special collar or harness, nobody would even need a dog trainer, right? And professionals, like in LA, they use electronic collars. They're an electronic leash. When a cadaver dog, drug sniffing dog, something like that is in the rubble, in the house, in the drug dealer's place, you need a way to call them back. That's with the electronic collar. That's how we use it. And we only use it to shock the dog out of an inappropriate response to a situation after all the training is so solid. You've done everything you can do with your hands and with your body. So that's the way it's really done. And I will tell you the dangers of using electronic collar before they can think really clearly is that you turn them into a kind of a neurotic mess, and you'll never have what you really want. So and you don't have that on him now, right?
No, I don't. I just have a prong.
So show me how, just with the collar that you have on, which is fine, show me how you're practicing come.
Okay. Vader, come.
Yeah, good boy.
So if I'm petting Vader and I'm giving him a reward, hey buddy, you like this, now call him to come to you.
Come.
Good. So you got something there.
On it, without the shock collar. It's more like if we do long hikes.
I can tell you that it's really what you've been doing that matters, what you do with your body and a leash. So we're gonna make this better. Okay. So first of all, you need as much length on the leash as possible because this is a 6-foot leash, looks like, because if the leash is completely long, the distance between you and the dog is greater, and therefore you would actually graduate to longer leashes. I'm going to add a couple things to this. When you are, and I'll take the leash this time. when you are training a dog, because they don't generalize as well as humans do, you have to be laser beam specific, and that specificity and doing things just a little bit differently means everything in the world. Being a little bit more clear makes them go up to the next level. So here are the rules for practicing the come command with a dog. Since in real life you're going to need him to come to you when the dog is paying attention to something else or somebody else, don't ever call him when he's like this, because this is not a real life situation when he's lovingly looking at you and he wants your treat or whatever. At the very least, create a distraction by tossing a treat so that he is busy doing something else, and then calling him, come, away from that. Good. When you back away, the dog is drawn to you. What we want is every time that he hears come, we want him to turn around and run to you. If you don't back away, you're going to have sort of coming to you, but not like urgently, like boom, that's what you want. You need to train him, have him have such an awesome recall so as to have it in a crisis situation. It only matters when he's about to get in a fight with another dog. It only matters when he's about to jump on an elderly person and he's like, oh, look what's happening. You're at a barbecue or something. It only matters when he's just about to jump up on the table and grab the steak, and you need to say, come, and it's like a reflex. Instantly, he doesn't even know why. He comes running to you. That's what we train for, right? It only matters in a crisis situation. So always call him away from you, and when you call him to come to you, always back away, because standing still is only half as good. And as you know, moving towards him probably is going to make him grab something and run away from you. It's just body language 101 with dog training. Dog training actually is mostly about body language. So the other part of making this so much more clear, have a very specific target he comes to. When we, for example, use rewards food, it's always a high value reward, we're going to have it in our target hand, but all of the stuff that we're doing is geared to going off leash, because we're not using the leash really we're not dragging him to us, because that wouldn't even be training. And in a crisis situation, you're not going to have a treat, but he doesn't know it's empty. So it's really, when it comes down to it, it's really about repetition. When a dog comes to live with me and do the live-in training in my place, in 3 or 4 weeks, I can call the dog back to me 500 times easily. I can do 20 times in 5 minutes. So we're establishing a pattern of behavior. That's what it's all about. We're establishing a new pattern, and we're making sure that it's an unbroken pattern of how it's done every time, so that replaces the old kind of halfway okay pattern. And we're establishing the pattern in a way that he loves to do it. All of these things, all the dog training, it has to be established in a way that he loves to do it. So there's so many more little rules about that, which we'll keep talking about, but we're gonna make sure that he thinks there's something really awesome in this target. It could save his life someday. It doesn't matter, there's nothing in it, but we're gonna do this again. Hey buddy, look, your treats are over here. See, on the ground, you left some. Go have some. He's a very interesting, cool dog. Come. See how I'm backing away? Good. His nose touches my hand, I open it, I say good, and I'm going to love him up. So what's also very important is that it's timing. You need to say good at the moment he gets a treat, because we need to establish that as a cool word, so that a few hundred times later, he has no idea why he loves that word. So already, he's a super smart dog, obviously.
He's very smart, yeah.
He knows there's something good in here. I've just called him to me twice, right? So let's give him some more treats. Hey, you left some there. He's so smart. He's like, I know.
This is what happens whenever we do training. He knows
it's because I'm doing something that's very dominant, and he's going to you for protection. Mom, this is weird. Nobody's ever handled me this way. This is very common. It happens a lot. Okay. So I'm going to switch to the anchovies. Here's a basic rule. It's a rule of behaviorism, is that whatever behavior the dog is exhibiting at that moment that you give attention to gets stronger.
So do I walk away?
Well, that would be one way to do it, but at the very least, don't give him any attention.
Just stand here and do.
But at the most, the way that we get a handle on this behavior is we call him out of this state of mind and get him to work with us. This is a reactive state of mind. His brain is not engaged, it's all emotion. So we're back to what I said before, where we're teaching them to love to do training. Of course, this is the first day that he's been handled this way.
Yeah.
But over time, they just want more. That's why we do short periods. We always end on a success. But if you want this to get less and less and him to be more and more confident, more and more stable, less reactive, there's no more corrections. We don't correct. We use the system. It would be, and yeah, there you go. Come. He can't help himself, right?
Yeah.
Good. Sit. Never repeat the command. Good. I'm going to take my sunglasses off because you can't see my eyes. I'm sure one day won't wreck that. Thanks. When I said the devil's in the details, even this, eye contact.
Yeah, we say mita.
Good.
Get me. If you.
Well, you can use a word from in a different language or whatever you want.
We do mita just because it's short and easy.
But I would say if you're going to use good, get rid of that, whatever that word is, because you want to put more behaviors into less words. Once again, streamlining the training, they don't generalize well. One of the problems of dog trainers are all these commands, and you've got leave it's and put it backs and offs and downs when they jump on you, but down is a command. Like, so less is more. Okay. Silence is golden. Okay. Don't talk. And if I can say good, and I also go, and I can also say come. Good. It's so much better. You've got 2 times you practice that word with the same impression. Other than that's a different word and this is a different word. Because they don't need it, it actually makes it more confusing and it keeps you at a lower level of training. So more behaviors into less words, very consistent and very clear to the dog. The part that really matters is this part. Eye contact, good, as he's looking at you. This makes you his valet, with the hand comes out of the sky, and you're serving him, and he's like, yeah, I'm munching out, that's attached to her. This, when you're looking down at the dog, they're getting a reward at that moment, good. It's very dominant, and they want to look at you all the time. So I do see a lot a command to look at you, which will be unnecessary because of the way you reward him all the time. Makes him just always want to look at you because in his mind, looking at you, when he looks at you, good stuff happens and he feels safe. When you do this, good, it's a little dose of I feel safe because he's taking charge. He's above me, eye contact, and good, I'm getting a yummy treat. All timed in that same moment. So a go command is kind of important to have.
Yeah, we usually say okay.
Go. See? Let's go. Come. So the exercise could just be this. Good. You call him to you, you step into him, sit. Good. And then the release command, of course. Always on a loose leash, by the way. Never a tight leash. Never restraining. Ever, ever. Go. Yeah, I know. Look. It's right there. Come. Good. Step into him. Sit. Good. Go. Come. Good. This part, super important. We haven't dealt with this yet. Sit. Good. When you use your body to put him wherever you want him, it's probably the most dominant move you can do. When you turn right, because the dog is usually on your left in training, you turn right, you're dragging the dog behind you. The right turns come later after you've done this a lot. Okay. Always turning into him. No matter what your collar is, you're tapping and turning. Loose leash always. Come on, buddy. Coaxing him to catch up to you. If he lags behind, stepping into him, sit. Good. I didn't have a chance to grab the treat, so that was imaginary food. But he still thinks he got one already. He's like, this is cool. The go command's important because in a greeting routine, the go command sends him over to somebody at the moment you want him to go over there to say hi. So we're actually doing this little exercise, go, because you like he likes the lamb. Yeah. Come. Good. All we have left to do, sit, that we'll add to this is you being there, or the person being there that you send him over to. Does he have a problem jumping on people or any of that kind of stuff?
Recently he started jumping on people. We only allowed if we say hugs, like up like this, like when we greet him and come from work. But he's been jumping on people, or trying to jump on people lately.
So the greeting routine and teaching him an appropriate way to meet a new person, greet somebody that just came home from work or something like that, makes the jumping go away. And all that's left from what I've shown you is to have somebody there where I send him over, go, to say hi. And then that's the whole greeting routine. And another part of this is that you incorporate all of this stuff into real life situations. You incorporate the release command to go somewhere, come, the sit stay and the down stay into as many real life situations as soon as possible as you can, because this is all about him being different in real life. He's had some training, so this is just about simplifying what he's had, getting rid of the clutter, putting it at a higher level, getting rid of the electronic stuff and all the other things. Like this dog doesn't even need a prong collar. He's not pulling at all.
No, not right now.
But this would be about, but if he has a solid recall, like really solid on from any situation, any distraction, he's not pulling you because come makes him come back to you and he'll be on a loose leash, right? So instead of any of that stuff that we saw before we started of the choking up and the restraining, that goes away because you don't need that anymore, because now you let him go to the end of the leash, and if the tap doesn't work, which it will, tapping the leash and moving away, the come command will, because his come command is so much better. This kind of stuff creates pulling. You anticipate, we're out there, and I don't want him to pull over there, I don't want him to go over that person or whatever, and you choke up because you're thinking, I know he's going to pull, and I don't want him to bother that person, creates the pulling. There's a whole way to start the whole walk on the inside of your front door and down these stairs and right here, and finally release him so that he's in the zone and he's not even pulling. But if you let him pull you through that doorway because he's excited and down the stairs, you're going to have what we saw out there, you know, which any kind of tension on the leash just takes you farther and farther away from your goal. And for some reason, at a certain level, when you're always restraining them and holding them back, you're kind of irrelevant in their eyes. But when you're tapping and backing away, when you're tapping, keeping the leash loose, and using body language, you're the boss. Leash handling is everything. The goal is, though, that we make the training so good that it works in a crisis situation. That's the only time you really need it, right?
Which is what I want. And it doesn't happen often, you know.
Well, if it happened every day, you'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
So you're like everybody else, but you need to have that work in a crisis situation. That's why you want to do it differently. You don't ever try to practice in the heat of the moment.